Because she didn't like the number that she would have gotten at closing, she decided to not show up to closing and just straight up just did not show up. Hey, I'm James Morgan, real estate broker at Social House Group and co-team lead of the Mojo team. What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good, man.
And I appreciate you spending this time with us at Faces of Real Estate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Happy to be one of your first few guests.
I appreciate it. You know, I've been knowing you for so long. To have you as one of my first guests is a real pleasure.
Oh, man, I appreciate it.
It's a real pleasure. So, right off the bat, what was the moment you first realized, okay, real estate is for me?
It had to be that first year, the second half of the first year of real estate. So I got into real estate in 2018, the end of 2018. And my first transaction was a lease. It was just a lease closing. I think the commission might have been $700, maybe. And that was like December 30th that year. And following that, there was nothing. So I didn't close another deal until July of 2019, which is crazy to me thinking back now, because to go that long without a deal, like that was challenging for sure. It definitely had me questioning some things, questioning my decision to do this. Is it gonna work? Things like that. But kept at it in between time, doing the things I needed to do, trainings, following my mentor around and learning from her, but really just absorbing as much knowledge as I possibly can. And finally got an opportunity to list my grandma's house. Actually, my uncle hired me. I got to sell my grandma's house, and that was incredibly rewarding for me in and of itself, to help out family, but also, you know, take care of my grandma's estate and my grandpa's estate. And then from there, man, it just popped off. From July to December of 2019, I closed over $1 million in real estate, and I was through the roof, man. After that, it was just like that was when I knew I was like, okay, wow, like it took a little bit, but it popped off. So now I got some evidence that I know what to do next. You know, now I know I got to keep doing more of what I've been doing because it's working for sure. That was when I really knew that real estate was for me, for sure.
So you said your first deal, you got maybe a $700 commission, and then you went a while before your next deal.
Yeah.
So in that time in between deals, what was that like?
That was challenging, right? That was challenging. I had my savings, you know, and things like that. I had credit cards that I treated like business loans and things like that to make sure I could pay all my memberships and get some advertising going and things like that. Oh yeah, but that was a challenging time. I mean, for sure, mentally leaving a job I had for 7 years, good wages, good benefits, and that's how I lived and provided for my family, to go to real estate and have that reality check. That was incredibly humbling for sure. So I had to have that back against your wall type of attitude that you can't stop. You can't stop, you gotta make this work. There's no going back. I'm certainly not going back to my factory job. That was rule number one.
What was your factory job?
Chemical plant making dangerous chemicals that strip metals, things like that, working with hydrofluoric acid, sulfuric acid, chromic acid. It was a full-on production. We made the large batches of chemicals, we packaged them, we shipped them. So it was a dangerous job for sure, but it was great experience for sure.
So did you quit that job before you started real estate?
Yeah, I quit, man. I went all the way in. I got to the point where I just knew that this absolutely was not it for me. Standing on the filler deck, you know, filling thousands of gallons of chemicals every single day, you know, or making these I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I mean, I respect that job and the work, of course, the blue collar work. I come from that. But for me, I wanted to be more, I wanted to do more, I wanted to use more of my brain. And yeah, I had to make a change, man. I just couldn't keep doing that for the next decade.
Is there any part of that job that you miss?
Oh, the people for sure. The camaraderie. You know, I was part of a union. I was part of the Steelworkers Union at the time, and I got into union leadership there, working with them and representing them on a daily basis, with grievances and negotiating wages and benefits, and that was incredibly rewarding. So I definitely miss the guys for sure. Not the work, not the work, the guys.
The people. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So my son said to me one day, he said, "I've never met a kid named Mark." Right? He said, like, only adults are named Mark. And I bring that up because I've never met a kid that wanted to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
So I asked you, when you were a kid, when you were just little James outside playing football, whatever it is that you did, what did you want to be when you was a kid?
Great question. I was, man, I wasn't really sure, honestly, like as a kid, what I exactly wanted to be, but I felt out some things. I thought about some things. I remember going on like a vocational field trip and touring like the Ford facilities and things like that. Maybe wanting to be an engineer or an architect. I always really appreciated buildings and design and things like that. I thought about that kind of stuff. Every kid wants to play professional sports at a time or something like that, right? So, basketball player, football player, whatever. But, that's interesting because it's an interesting question because I envy people who know what they want to be at that young of an age, for sure. I don't know, if you have ever considered that, but like when people say like, this is my passion and I've had this passion since I was a kid, that's incredible to me to find that at such a young age and then to have people who can foster that within you and then you become amazing at it. I mean, that's such a special thing. I definitely envy that. Yeah. Cause I don't remember having a specific path or even a passion. It was more so sports and things like that. Yeah. Or curiosity, I suppose.
Curiosity. What was your sport of choice?
Sport of choice. My first love is basketball. It'll always be basketball. I remember, that was kind of like my solitude, where I could be by myself, everything, all the problems and, go away. I would go to that half court in the apartment complex we used to. It'd be snowing like it was today. I'd bring my broom that thing off. And I'd just be playing, just shooting, reenacting, trying to be Michael Jordan, things like that for sure. That was my solitude, man. The basketball court was everything to me for sure.
Were you any good at it?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I grew up balling with the older kids for sure. I wish I could ball right now. I got to find some other people to ball with. But yeah, man, no, I was pretty good. I could probably still hang. I gotta start shooting around again.
You said as a kid you was fascinated with architecture and design.
Yeah.
Is there any specific aspect of that?
No. I just really enjoyed. At the time, I used to like to draw a lot. I used to draw cars a lot, like profiles of cars, or like I used to love drawing the Lamborghini. It just seemed to make sense, like with the '90s Lamborghinis, they were kind of boxy. I used to draw those things all the time, and I just love the idea of just designing, and what it takes to design. And even today, I'm in real estate, and I enjoy design and interior design and architecture and things like that. But like it really started with like cars, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So if you could design any car, what car would you design?
Well, I used to always draw the Lamborghini, so that would be one. I picture it now. I remember this purple Lamborghini or the red Ferrari. I draw a lot. But one of my favorite cars has to be the Porsche. The Porsche, 911, the Carrera, all of it. I just think they're some of the sexiest cars ever.
So would that be your dream car?
Ooh, dream car. Yeah, probably a version of a Porsche. Yeah, absolutely. I could see that. But of course, I'm from Detroit, Metro Detroit. You have to love the Detroit muscle, right? The muscle cars, absolutely. Yeah, the Ford Mustang, the Camaros, the Thunderbirds, the GTOs, Firebirds. I loved them all, man.
Sounds good. So, describe to me, right, if you could only drive one car, you're going to drive one car for the next 5 years, what would that car be all the way down to the color, the interior and exterior?
I really like those Cadillac Blackwings. They're, I can't remember how much horsepower they have, but I know they're pushing 1,000. And I'll take one of those, all black, just murdered out, for sure. Black interior, just all straight murdered out for sure. Blackwing.
Makes a lot
Cadillac
of sense.
Blackwing.
I love it. So you mentioned a little bit earlier that you love design, even in the things that you do now. How do you think your design brain translate into your real estate work currently?
Yeah, well, one, I mean, when walking into a home and being able to, point out certain things within the home that, the home, it's special to the homeowner. I mean, I think that resonates when you're going on appointments and things like that. As far as like touring homes with buyers and things like that, that can be huge because, you're trying to help them visualize living in the space, and that's the biggest thing, is trying to visualize yourself living in the space. So that's what we try to do. We ask, I'll ask a lot of opinions. What do you think about this? What would you change here? How do you like this design? Would you change anything with that? So being able to point out, how you could lay out furniture, to make sure that it's good for entertaining space and things like that. I think that's probably how it relates.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How would you describe young James?
Young James, like as a kid, even, well, teenage years can kind of, as a kid though, a lot like I am now, honestly. Like I've always been somebody that took pride in being relied upon, problem solver, likable, like trustworthy, no fear, for sure. No fear when I was a kid. I can remember like dances, like middle school dances, like nobody's dancing, right? I'm out there doing the Macarena and stuff like that. I don't care. Like that's how I've always been. I don't mind being the butt of a joke or anything like that. So a lot like today, honestly, just a little bit more gray hair and whiskers and all that.
So was you like the party starter when you were younger?
Yeah, I'll say that. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Love to get the party started. Let's get the jams going. Even growing up, like the younger years after high school, like, you remember DJ Hero came out? Well, you remember Guitar Hero.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember DJ Hero?
Yes.
Dude, I loved DJ Hero. Got DJ Hero as soon as it came out, especially with that Jay-Z collab with it and everything, man. And I just remember us all getting together and we'd be rocking out, playing Guitar Hero, DJ Hero. Those are some good times.
That was the Jay-Z Linkin Park mashup, right?
I think that was in there, but it was a bunch of it. It was a bunch of Jay-Z stuff. It was cool, man. I wish I had it still.
Hey, I'm pretty sure you can still buy it.
Absolutely.
So around that time, what was like your favorite music? What's the artist you like to listen to around that time?
I grew up, listening to everything. My mom, my family, specifically my mom, though. I grew up listening to everything. From rock and roll, of course, to all those guys. But definitely grew up on the R&B and the hip hop, big time. Everything would be playing, Bobby Brown, big time for sure. Every little step, right? We'd be getting into that. Michael Jackson, come on. Who didn't grow up on that, right? But as I got older, man, I felt obviously hip hop started to become something amazing. And man, I can remember, the first cassette I ever bought, the first album cassette deal I ever bought was at Southland Mall. And I can't, was it the, what are those old record stores? They're not around anymore. Sam Goody. And I know that, he's polarizing right now, but P. Diddy featuring Mace. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge, right? That was the single cassette tape. It had the cardboard slip. That was the first thing I ever bought. So I remember that, just that was mind blowing. Bone Thugs and Harmony, when East 99 came out, that was amazing. And then of course, Pac was always my favorite. Tupac was always my favorite. For sure.
That Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 99 was my first CD.
Yeah.
Not my first tape purchase, but my first CD
That's
purchase.
Right. Yep, I had the CD too.
It was the Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Still, they're coming out with a new album. I think I just saw them in the studio recently.
Yep. Didn't know that.
Yep, I'm excited.
That's cool. So what area did you grow up in?
Well, what we call here in Michigan, Southeast Michigan, what we call downriver downriver. I grew up everywhere. I probably lived in damn near every city in downriver for sure.
Have you ever lived outside of Michigan?
Um, Not for like an extended period of time, like not for like a year or anything like that. But I've traveled. I've traveled for work and stayed in Wisconsin for a month or Indiana for a month, and flew to France and worked there for a few months a couple of times. But no, never like lived outside of Michigan. I've been in Michigan my whole life. This is my home state for sure.
What did you do in France?
That was contract work. That was right before actually I got into my chemical plant job, the factory. That was before that. I had went to the Michigan Institute of Aviation and Technology there in Canton, where they have aviation program and power technology program if you wanted to be like a wind turbine technician, and that's what I was going for. And that was actually back with I went to school for free. Actually, I went to MIAT for free when Jennifer Granholm was the governor of Michigan, and she had the No Worker Left Behind program. And I remember taking advantage of that and going to school at MIAT, get my power technology degree. And I was going to be a wind turbine technician. I was hired by after graduation. I was hired by Mitsubishi actually to be a wind turbine technician in Minnesota. And that was exciting. I was jacked about it. But at the time, my wife was pursuing her nursing career as well, and she already had a great job, making good money at the time, and all of our families here. So in the end, after more thought, I thought why uproot us? We got some good things going right now. And of course, everybody's here. So I decided to take another opportunity that came my way, basically because it wasn't the safe option. Because I've been in Michigan my entire life. This is where I've lived and grew up, and never really traveled too much up until that point. So when this contract work to retube condensers in nuclear power plants in France, I just felt like it wasn't the safe choice. And I had the opportunity to see the world, do something different, and also stack a lot of cash for a short period of time. So took that opportunity and flew to France. That was an experience. I did it twice, and that was an experience. I remember being super homesick the first night, got way too drunk. We all, as soon as you get there, we all had our own rooms and all that stuff, but these guys that you work with, you work with them, you drive to work with them, you party after work with them, you grocery shop with them, so you end up getting to know these guys really well. And as soon as we got there, you go and you get your groceries for your mini fridge in your room, and we're buying booze. And I remember just drinking pretty much a full bottle of Jameson, just way too much. Back when Skype was the only thing you could use, Skyping Kathy and my wife on, and just bawling my eyes out. I think I'm going to come home. I just can't do this. It was and then, had to go to work 3 hours, and the reality check set in. And I was like, that wasn't so bad. Got some sleep and kept on going. So I was there for 3 months the first time, month and a half or so the second time.
Do you have any particular fond memories from being over, or good stories from being over in France?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, from traveling to Paris, me, one of the guys, Ed, and Patrick was 19 at the time. We all took the train to France, or took the train to Paris, and went to see the Eiffel Tower and all that good stuff, Moulin Rouge and all that good stuff. And we're just having a great time. Had to go get the Hard Rock Cafe, and I remember we were drinking, Pat was 19, we're drinking Hurricanes, it's the end of the day, and next thing you know, we're running late for the train. Totally missed the train to go back to our hotel. Nobody talks English or is willing to talk to us in English to help us out. So totally missed it, couldn't figure out even how to buy new tickets, this and that. We're kind of coming down from our Hard Rock Hurricane buzz, and literally had to bounce around in the train station, and then finally figured out where exactly we needed to go, and just hopped on a train. Just hopped on the train, no tickets, got in the back, covered, and just waited, and finally got home like a few hours before work. That was a crazy night. We were freaking out for sure. That was an absolute crazy night.
That sounds like a crazy experience. That's way before, you had the phones with translation on and Google Maps and Apple Maps.
Exactly.
Et cetera.
Yep. No Waze or anything like that, telling you where to go, and it was pretty crazy. But I think my other favorite memory too. That was one. But my other favorite memory was we all went, the same guys, Ed and Pat, and we went out and just check out some bars, and we met some really cool young people, and they took us to the discotheque, where everybody was going to club. And we ended up meeting these really cool people, and this young guy, his family owned a vineyard in France. And at the end of the night, when the discotheque was closing, he was like, "Why don't you guys come over? I'll show you this, and we could try the wine and all that." And we were like, "Bet, done," right? So we go. Kind of creepy though, like putting your trust into this guy, and his girlfriend and his friend. But we go, and he took us to his estate, his family's estate, and we got to go to the vineyard. He took us down to the basement where all the casks are and all that. He let us try like his father's private stock of wine and things like that, with the tube, pull it out and put it in a glass for us. And I remember him sharing this white wine that was one of his dad's special, and the white wine was aged so long that it was basically cognac. It was one of the most delicious things I can ever remember trying in my life. And that was just a great memory. I remember taking home 2 wine glasses. I think I still got one. Like the guy's girlfriend, he didn't drive us. The guy's girlfriend ended up driving us back to our hotel. Before stopping at the hotel though, before taking us home to the hotel, she stopped at her favorite bakery, and we got croissants and all the good stuff, and it was just an amazing night. And those are the experience that I wasn't considering, but I just knew I wanted to do something out of the box, out of the safe zone.
Makes sense. Fun fact.
Yeah.
The first thing that made me say I actually like wine is when we were shooting your profile video, and you gave me some of that red wine. I forgot exactly the name of it. I probably should have took a picture. Yeah. But that was my first time actually drinking wine, and said, I see how people can drink this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was good stuff. That was like the whiskey barrel aged. I think that was like an Argentinian wine. That was good. That was a good wine.
Sounds good. If you could go professional in any sport, what sport would it be?
I mean, it had to be baseball, right? Like, as much as I love basketball, as much as I love football, baseball, right? It's the lowest. It's the lowest impact and pain on your body. You get to wear really cool hats, chew bubble gum, and tobacco, and all that good stuff. Chew sunflower seeds when you're not playing. You play, for really short periods of time. You make a ton of money. It has to be baseball. Absolutely.
Sounds good. I used to be really good at baseball. That's the only sport I was actually really good at when I was younger.
Yeah?
Yeah. Baseball for sure.
I like baseball.
So here in Michigan, most people at least are huge Lion fans.
Yeah.
Are you a Lions fan?
Come on, it can't even be a question. How you grow up in this area and you're not a Lions fan is beyond me. Like, everybody understands growing up in this area. If you're of our demographic, our age, you had some painful years. Most Lions fans have had plenty of painful years, right? Even so, the Barry years when all the guys were gathered around the TV going nuts about Barry. Like I knew and I was paying attention a little bit, but I didn't watch enough, to understand the magnitude of what was happening, things like that. But it's how you're not a Lions fan even through the years is crazy to me. What I'll say is though, we do all have, I think as a Lions fan, you typically have your secondary team though that you like, right? Like those years were pretty, like you had to find another team you could root for. Not in the NFC North though, right? Forget the Packers, forget the Bears, forget the Vikings, whatever. For me, it was my secondary team was always the Raiders. I love the Raiders. I fell in love with the logo. That's another fun one. I remember my first Raiders hat. My grandma bought it for me at Southland Mall. You remember, you went to Southland Mall back in the day, I'm sure. And they used to have like all the kiosks in the middle. And I remember getting a rhinestoned out black Raider hat, man. I love that thing so much. I love
Yeah.
that thing. So I've been a Raiders fan ever since I saw that logo. And so from then on, I just like the teams, all them guys.
What do you think about the Lions season this year?
Lions season this year was incredible. I mean, it was disappointing. I would say that I think this year was more disappointing than last year, for sure. The expectations, of course, were there. Anything but a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl win was never going to be enough. But like, I didn't take it as bad as I did last year because we were right there. We're blowing them out at halftime. 2 quarters away from the Super Bowl. That was devastating for your team to crumble like that and watch that. But this year, like, the regular season was a fun ride, man. It was a wild ride. I think they just overestimated that rookie quarterback in the playoffs, and they thought they had the home field advantage and smooth. No.
Yeah. For me, this year was more devastating than last year because last year I was happy to be there.
Yeah, right.
You know,
That's the thing.
It was. I thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl. Like, we should have won that game if it wasn't for a tip pass that ended up to a catch to a touchdown. I think we would have won that game. But I was just really happy to be there. This year, I expected to be there. Not only that, we wasn't just like barely winning. We was really beating teams. Even we had our, play Houston, 5 interceptions. Doesn't matter. Win the game.
Right.
So I'm thinking this is really the year. And then when we got the Commanders, I was like, oh, we are in there. That should be a walk-in. And then to see that happen, I was sick. Not to mention my college roommate, me and him, only thing we really still talk about all the time is football. And he loves ever since I've known him, the Packers. And obviously they're not in it, so what are you going to do? Hate on the Lions. Right?
yeah, for sure. For sure.
So I couldn't stand that at all.
No, man. My buddy likes the Packers too. I don't get it whatsoever. But yeah, no, it was devastating this year because we should have beat them. I mean, that team, the Commanders and that rookie quarterback, they were no sloughs. Like, they were gonna ball. I mean, if you watched football this year, you knew they hung around in every game and they came back in every game. But it was like, I think just at that point, it was just like we played so many hard games that the defense was so depleted, so depleted that we were gonna have to outscore them, and it wasn't happening. That defense stepped up. So I'm looking forward to next year. I'm hoping they're going to add somebody opposite Aiden Hutch on the other side, and that can cause some havoc for sure. But if our defense stays healthy, we'll be all right.
Sounds good. So let's swing this back around to real estate.
Okay, sure.
All right. So if I was to drop you in a brand new city with no contacts, no leads, and only $500, how would you get your first deal?
Oh, I like that question. How would I get my first deal? I am door knocking. I'm absolutely door knocking. I'm going to find a new listing, a sold listing, and I'm going to knock on doors all around that listing, as many as I can, telling them about the listing that is either listed or what it sold for. And I'm going to go talk to people and find out if they're interested in the information, if they'd like to talk more, if they have any real estate goals, things like that. So just trying to talk as many people as you can. And I think the easiest one would just be go straight to the homeowners and door knocking. Absolutely. I'd be doing as much of that as I can. And then calling for sale by owners. Because for sale by owners are basically just waving their hand, asking you to call them. So might as well call them and see if you can help.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
If you could have one superpower as a real estate agent to make you a most effective real estate agent, what would that be?
Ooh, a superpower to make me the most effective real estate agent. Ooh. Read my clients' minds. Read minds, absolutely. To know what they're thinking at every corner, during a tour, their hesitations, everything. Yep.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Who do you think have the hardest job in real estate? Real estate is a multi-layered thing. It's not just a real estate agent and a buyer, right? It's everything from title company, you got real estate investors. real estate photographers.
Yeah.
It's so many different levels to real estate. Who do you think has the hardest job in real estate?
I'm going to say the real estate agent has the hardest job, because there's so many things that are involved in moving parts, and we have to be so many things to our clients a lot of the time. I mean, we're not just salespeople. Like, we are advisors and negotiators and prospectors, and looking for new business and things like that. And to insert yourself so, I guess, in a vulnerable situation, let's call it, because a family buying their first home, it's one of the stressful things they're ever going to go through. Family selling their first home is one of the stressful things they're ever going to go through. Anybody selling or buying a home, it's one of the few of the most stressful things you could possibly do in your life, is buying a home, selling a home, buying a home, selling a home, moving, super stressful. So inserting yourself in such a vulnerable situation with families and people who want to reach their goals, and you're the avenue to help them reach their goals. Yeah, there's so many things that go into that. It's not just knowing how to navigate the MLS system or write an offer. It's so much more than that. I mean, you got to put your psychiatry hat on sometimes and ask the meaningful questions to make them think and weigh the risks and the benefits of their situation or their decisions and things like that. So I'd say the real estate agent is the hardest job within the industry, but we get to have the most fun, I'll say, for sure, because it is incredibly rewarding, and just the marketing and things that we do, that's the fun part. But I always joke with my clients and tell my clients that my lender has the hardest job. Actually, she doesn't, I get the fun part and she gets the hard part, because it's just numbers, So I'd say lenders have it a little bit rough, and real estate agents.
So between buyer agents and seller agents, who do you think have the hardest job?
Buyers agents have the harder job.
Why buyers agents?
I'd say buyers agents have the harder job than a listing agent, because, and I have this saying, I heard it and I repeat it all the time. I say buyers take time and listings take skill. So I'd say from the harder perspective, it's buyer's agent, because you're constantly running around, right? You're showing tons and tons of homes. A decision isn't made right away. You get a client now, you might not have a paycheck until they're ready to buy, right? Which could be 3, 6, 12 months down the way, who knows? So hopefully you got a lot of buyers. You write up a lot of offers, you might get them in a competitive market, you might get them denied, and you got to keep doing it. It can be really frustrating for the buyers. But at the same time, being a listing agent, I would say, isn't the harder position. I'd say it's the easier position, but it's the more skilled position, because you have to know how to communicate with people in a way that they realize you can help them reach their goals. Right? Like, choose me because, right? You have to be able to communicate that. And that takes a lot of skill and practice.
Makes a lot of sense. As a real estate agent on both sides, I'm sure you see a lot of crazy things. What do you think is the most interesting story from your journey as a real estate agent?
Most interesting thing, I'll be honest, I don't have a bunch of interesting stories. I've only been in the game about 6 years now. And I take a lot of pride in my transactions not going awry very often, that things aren't missed. I'm a very detailed person, thoughtful person, thinking of the next steps, what could come of this, what should we do to prevent this, and things like that. So I take a lot of pride in my transactions typically going very smooth, but you can never predict the variables in this business, dealing with the public. You never know what's going to happen. My first full year in real estate, that same year I was telling you I closed, million between July and December, and I felt like that was when I felt like I could really do this. And we didn't even talk about COVID and all that, the shutdowns and how to navigate that. I mean, that was when it was like I was like fully in it. Didn't even think about whether this is going to work or not. We're doing it. But getting back to what I was saying, so that first year in real estate, and I learned a lot of valuable lessons. I had a great listing, a big listing, and I went above and beyond for this seller, like above and beyond, from, sweeping floors and helping her change light bulbs and painting her front door because it absolutely needed it. Like things like that, going above and beyond and educating her, so much, because it was important to me, and I'm brand new and I want to make sure all bases are covered. And in the end, ended up getting a great deal. We're moving for the transaction. I'm thinking everything's going great. And then when she sees her final numbers, even though we discussed them, she wasn't happy with them, even though they had nothing to do with the numbers we reviewed. There were liabilities that she had to pay. And because she didn't like the number that she would have gotten at closing, she decided to not show up to closing. And just straight up just did not show up. So in a real estate transaction, that contract is legally binding. And there are repercussions for not showing up. Just because you don't show up for closing doesn't mean you don't sell the house, and it doesn't mean I'm not owed my commission, right? So in the end, what we had to do is, it was kind of crazy. I actually had to work with, because she wasn't communicating with me anymore and didn't want to sell it, I had to actually work in concert with the buyer's attorney to help get this deal closed, because she wasn't going to do it. And so that was so interesting. Like, that was one of the things that I thought was going to break me for sure. I was like, that really sucked. I was beside myself, thinking I did something wrong. But in the end, I didn't, and it's just, that's the nature of this business, dealing with the public. You never know what's going to happen.
Makes a lot of sense. What area do you serve?
Serve all areas. So, being from this area, I'll say from, Flat Rock and Monroe. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I don't know, a Flat Rock area, Monroe area. I've sold homes in Monroe. So from Monroe to Detroit to Royal Oak to Ann Arbor, I'm everywhere.
What do you think sets you apart as a agent/broker?
What sets me apart with, I would say, my clients and serving them is just my attitude, my knowledge, my expertise in the business, my experience, my negotiating skills, my ability to help them gain perspective in tough decisions, helping them picture what their, home could look like, and things like that. But really just take a lot of pride in educating my clients every single step of the way. We're there from the start to the end, and every single step of the way you're getting educated, whether in person or over video, and you always know your next steps. So I would say my detail-oriented nature, and then my negotiating skills.
And last question, What is something in life you still haven't accomplished that you wish to accomplish?
Trying to think of something besides, financials, right? Accomplishing, let me see. I think, building a brokerage, or multiple brokerages that agents want to be a part of, is something that haven't even considered, what could be, I guess, starting out small where we're at now, having 10 or 12 agents. We're so small now, but I think that the bigger picture is that could be something I've never even considered, because what we're building here, I think, is so special for the agents that are out there and for the modern agent. I think growing this office, growing a business, growing a brokerage to a capacity that I never even considered, 100 agents, 200 agents, who knows? But ultimately, man, I don't really have this like end goal or accomplishment in mind, truthfully. I have things I want to do within my life. Number one, it starts with affecting people in a positive way, having some sort of impact in their life. And then I think I have the attitude that if I can help enough people get what they want, I'll eventually get what I want. And what I want out of life is just security, peace, more travel, see the world, things like that. So for me, there's no real end game. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't have this financial goal in mind. I do want to be a multimillionaire by the time I'm 50. That's for sure.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate you sitting down with us at Faces of Real Estate today.
Yeah, man. This is great.